What's going on, everyone? It's Updog here, and today I have a special graphic for you. We're going to get all into it. It's about the Liberty team. The Liberty team is going to be popping into the game here on Tuesday, so I thought I'd come out with my very first team graphic. And before I get started, you can find this graphic and all the other graphics that I've made on my brand new Discord server, so make sure you check the description down below for the link for that. And let's get into it here. So, not just this graphic, but I want to start doing team graphics in general in the future, just because there's been a lack of those. My good friend Benny Westside, he retired from the game. It's very sad, and I wanted to kind of pick that back up from where he left off. Now, my graphic isn't going to be nearly as good as Benny Westside did, but I tried to include as much information as I could, especially for people who may not have English as their primary language as well, trying to make it mostly universal, so that way it can be used by anyone. Now, of course, the ISO attack down here is in English. I didn't want to include a bunch of interpretations there, but everything else should be pretty simple to understand, even if English is not your primary language. So let's get into it here a little bit. I'll go over it, kind of show you what my thoughts were on this. And then, yeah, every time a new team comes out, I will use a similar template to this. If it's a Crucible team, the background will be Crucible. If it's arena team, we'll have like an arena, maybe like a Coliseum type background, something like that. So that's kind of the idea that I had with this. So hopefully you enjoy it. I'll kind of explain how it works a little bit. Hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory, but just wanted to go over that for you, just so you understand. So, and like I said, I tried to get all the information I could pack into one graphic like this. So we've got the ISO, like the row here on top, that's going to be my primary recommendation. The ones down below are going to be my secondary recommendations. So it kind of just depends on, you know, how big you're going to build them, or what kind of play style that you like. So that's my ideas for ISO. And we have the unique pieces here down beside each character. That's what the centerpiece unique is going to be using for these characters. So pretty interesting with this team anyway. I was kind of surprised by Patriot, a little bit surprised anyway, that he was using Vibranium. Wasn't too surprised about the Hammer Tech here or the Shield Tech for Peggy, but Vibranium, I thought it might have been, I don't know too much about Patriot, but I thought it might have been another kind of metal. But hey, they do like to use multiple of the same uniques for a team sometimes, so that part of it didn't surprise me. So let's see, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit underneath Cap Sam here. Now the T4s is kind of like a red light, yellow light, green light format, whereas like the green ones you definitely want to invest in. The yellow ones are kind of a nice to have, and then the red ones are like, I wouldn't recommend T4 in them, even if, I mean, unless you like super like the character and just want to go all in on that one character, then I am always a proponent for that. So that's how the T4s work, and I have it, you know, spaced out between all of the different basic, special, ult, and passive. And then I have the ISO attack, which I feel is something that everyone's always asking for. So keep in mind, this was my first time doing this. I went into the JSON files to find what the ISO attack was going to be. So if you see something that's not quite matching up, I'm more probably concerned about Peggy's here. Like, I'm not sure if it actually will copy and clear. That's what the JSON files say. But if you don't find that that's the case, make sure to let me know and I will update the graphic, or I'll get clarification from the devs on that. So that is the ISO attacks. If you have Striker, of course. If you have Striker and they attack into a vulnerable, that's what will happen. Now, the other thing that I added, which I thought was, I really was looking for something like this. Ideally, it would be in like a database or some kind of bot or something where I can just type in, hey, stun, like who does a stun? And then it would pull up all these characters and what ability level that happens in. Like, type in stun and it'll pull up like X character's special does this, or this character on their ultimate does this, or even like if something like stun usually can't be spread. So like even like that too, something like that. That's always been my hope that something like that would ever come around, but what I did was just put the different effects in here in the graphic just so you can kind of know, like, oh, okay, hey, War Machine here, he puts offense down on his basic. Let me zoom out a little bit there so you can see it a little bit better. So I thought that was at least the step in the right direction to try and get to what my ultimate hope is to be able to search certain negative effects for different characters. So these key effects are always going to be what the character puts on the enemy side, including all of the positive effects that buffs your team. That would be way too that would clutter up things way too much. So I just focused on the effects that is being done to the enemy. So, like I said, for example, for War Machine, he puts offense down on his basic. His special, he flips. I couldn't really find a very good way to tell you that it's flipping the positive effects, so that's kind of what I went with. We'll see how it goes in the future, what I want to do with that, but we're flipping these positive effects on the enemies, and then War Machine puts a taunt on enemies as well with his passive. If you see this clear right here under Patriot, he clears death proofs on his ultimate, and he also puts taunt out there. Now, does anybody recognize this purple little target thing? That is a vulnerable. So one of the few characters still, handful of characters in the game, Falcon Joaquin will put vulnerable on the enemies. So that's pretty nice. And he prevents immunity, kind of like Mysterio does. But he only prevents the immunity when somebody has taunt. So that's why the rest of this team, it has like a taunt, putting a taunt on the enemy mechanic. So then he will prevent immunity from anyone with taunt. So pretty interesting mechanic. But that's what this little red X through the immunity is. And then Peggy Carter has a lot going on, as you can see here, with her effects. She'll put slow out. She's like the queen of putting slow out there. Slow on every single ability that she has. Passive all the way through her basic. She does have a clear immunity as well. And then she puts trauma out there. Now, another thing that to try and keep the clutter out of the graphic a little bit, some of these abilities or some of the negative effects or key effects are going to be just in like war only, or in future graphics, you know, it might be the mode specific only. So just keep an eye out for that. But I just figured to go with all the effects they do, and since they are a war team, just include all of those, the war specific stuff. But you can look into the kit a little bit more in detail if you want to know like which abilities are just in war specifically. But yeah, she puts trauma out there on 2 of her abilities, and then she prevents speed up if the enemies have slow. And they have a bunch of speed bar mechanics and all that good stuff. So you can, like I said, you can look into the kits in more detail if you want to know about that. But these are all the key effects that they do, whether it be in war or a lot of the times it's going to be in all modes. So yeah, I hope you like the graphic. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Don't forget to join the new Discord if you want to get this, plus Stormwatch and all the other graphics that I make. And obviously more team graphics in the future. I was really excited to share this with you guys. So hope you like it. And until next time, make sure you spend those resources wisely, and we will see you around.